this class I will discuss about the chemical bonding. So you already know two atom in means except the noble gases, other two atoms they cannot exist freely in the nature. Two atoms or more atoms they always interact with each other and they form the molecules. The method to form the molecule is called the chemical bonding, and the force of attraction which joined the two atom or the more atom is called the chemical bonds. Okay, so why we have the chemical bonding? We have the chemical bonding due to the two reasons. First reason, to gain the stability. And how they can get the stability? They can get the stability by the minimizing their energy. Energy and stability always inversely proportional to each other. Every system in this universe, they want to decrease their energy. They want to decrease their energy to get the maximum stability. To get the maximum stability. So atom they combine together to get the maximum stability or minimum energy. Second point is what? All the atoms they want to have the electronic configuration like noble gas. Because noble gases are unreactive, then all other atoms in this world they want to have the electronic configuration like noble gas. To have the electronic configuration like noble gas, atom can transfer the electron, they can lose the electron, they can gain the electron, they can transfer the electron, or they can share the electron. If they transfer the electron, they lose the electron, they gain the electron, that is the transference of the electron, that is called the ionic bond. But if two atoms share the electron, that is called the covalent bond. Octet rule is also given in between. It is given by the scientists Lewis and Coset. They said every atom in this world they want to have the 1 octet of the 8 electron in their outermost shell. Every atom want to have the 8 electron in their outermost shell. In this process they can lose the electron, they can gain the electron, or they can share the electron, but always they want to have the 8 electron in their outermost shell. So how they can do? They can do so by the ionic bond. They can do so by the ionic bond. Ionic bond are formed by the metal and the non-metal. Ionic bond are formed by the metal and non-metal. What happens? Metal lose the electron and non-metal more electronegative gain the electron. Then metal is converted into the cation and non-metal is converted into the anion. And between the cation and anion we have the very stronger electrostatic force of attraction. So ionic bond are formed by the transfer of the electron from the more electronegative element to the less electronegative element. They are joined together by the stronger electrostatic force of attraction. So they are always present in the solid state. Force of attraction is very strong. Second, force of attraction is very strong, hence their melting point and boiling point is also very higher. They require the high energy to break the structure. Then they are brittle, they are not ductile, they are not the malleable, and they cannot conduct the electricity. They cannot conduct the electricity. Although they have the cations and anion, but still they cannot conduct the electricity in the solid state, because in the solid state cation and anion are not freed from each other. But in the aqueous state or molten state, when the cation separate from the anion, then cation and anion are free from each other. Then in the molten state they can conduct the electricity. They are non-directional. Ionic bonds are the non-directional in nature. Due to the non-directional structure, they cannot show any kind of the isomerism. Number of cation in the surrounding of anion. How many anion we have in the surrounding of cation? That is called the coordination number of the anion, and how many anion we have in the surrounding of the cation, that is called the coordination number of the cation. Look, ionic compound are the polar compound. Polar compound are soluble in the polar solvent like water, like alcohol. But at the same time they are not soluble in the non-polar solvent like benzene, CCl4, etc. When they are soluble in the water, we have these two rules. If hydration energy is more than the lattice energy, hydration energy compensates the lattice energy, heat of the solution become negative. In such case, ionic compound is soluble in the water. Second, if lattice energy is more than the hydration energy, heat of the solution is the positive, and ionic compound becomes the insoluble in the water. Then after that we have the covalent compound, covalent bond. Covalent bonds are formed by the sharing of electron. Covalent bonds are formed by the sharing of the electron. Always it is formed between the two non-metals or two elements with the same electronegativity difference. Metal non-metal ionic bond, non-metal non-metal with the covalent bond, like H2 has one covalent bond, F2 has one covalent bond, O2 double bond, nitrogen has the triple bond, H2O, NH3, etc. Okay, why they do so? Why they share the electron? They share the electron to complete their octet. But octet tool is not the universal, is not the fully acceptable. Why? Because we have many limitations of the octet tool. Like first limitation of the octet tool, expanded octet. PCl5 has the 10 electron, SF6 has the 12 electron, and IF7, it is the molecule which have the 14 electron. They have the electron more than 8, but still they are stable. Next, BeH2 molecule is stable, but it has only 4 electron. BH3 molecule is stable, but it has only 6 electrons. So there are so many molecules, those are stable, although they have the incomplete octet, they have the number of electron less than the 8. Next, odd electron system. Some molecules are having the odd electron, and stability of these odd electron molecule cannot be explained by the octet tool. And some more means what is the bond length, what is the bond order, what is the structure, what is the bond angle, what is the dipole moment. These property can also not be explained by the octet tool. And existence of the C tool, as we have the double bond and we have the triple bond, similarly we can also have the 4 bond, and if we have the 4 bond between the 2 carbon atoms, then that can complete the octet also, but C2 molecule cannot exist according to the covalent bond theory. So these are the problems in the octet tool we have. After this octet tool we have the valence bond theory, VBT. You check the name, valence bond theory. Okay, according to this theory, the electron of the valence shell, they form the bonds. Electron of the valence shell, they form the bonds, and this is the theory related to the that. According to this theory, bonds are formed by the overlapping of the atomic orbitals. According to this, bonds are formed by the overlapping of the atomic orbital of the valence shell. Several kind of overlapping we have. So first we have the SS overlapping. We have the SS overlapping, like in the molecule H2, one S orbital and another S orbital, they have the overlapping. This overlapping is called the SS overlapping, and this bonding occurs on the internuclear axis. If we join two nucleus, then that line is called the internuclear axis, and bonded electron is present on the internuclear axis. If bonded electron are present at the internuclear axis, then those are called the sigma bond. If bonded electron are present above the internuclear axis or below the internuclear axis, that is called the pi bond, that I will discuss. So first is the SS overlapping like we have in the case of the H2. Then second is the PZ overlapping. PZ overlapping like we have in the case of the F2. One PZ orbital, another PZ orbital. They also interact on the internuclear axis. So this bond is called the PZ overlapping. It also gives the sigma bond. Next we have the SPZ overlapping like in the HF. In this one, S orbital of the hydrogen interact with the PZ orbital of the fluorine. This bond is again we have on the internuclear axis. The bond which we have on the internuclear axis is called the sigma bond. First is the SS sigma bond, second one is the PZ sigma bond, this is the SPZ sigma bond. After this sigma bond we have the pi bonds. Pi bonds are formed by the lateral overlapping or sideways overlapping. In the sideways overlapping, bonded electron density is not present on the internuclear axis, it is present above or below on the internuclear axis, like we have the molecule of the O2. O2 molecule has the two bonds, first bond is always sigma, second bond is always pi. In the formation of the sigma, PZ is already consumed. Then if PZ is not available, then second bond is formed by the px orbital of the first oxygen interact with the px orbital of the second oxygen. So this time we have the bond which is above and below the sigma bond axis. This is the internuclear axis. But this bond is present above the internuclear axis or below the internuclear axis. Such kind of bond are called the pi bond. Okay, pi bond are formed by the either px overlapping or they are formed by the py overlapping, but pi bond cannot be formed by the px py overlapping because px py orbitals are not present in the same plane. They cannot provide any effective overlapping. When we have the comparison of the bond strength of the 1 sigma and 1 pi, then 1 sigma bond is always stable than the more stable than the 1 pi bond. Pi bond are weak and sigma bond are strong, but when we have the 1 sigma 1 pi, 1 sigma 2 pi, triple bond is more stable than the single bond, double bond is more stable than the single bond. Then after this we have the theory of the hybridization. According to this theory, atomic orbitals of the same energy they mix up. According to this theory, atomic orbital of the same energy they mix up together to give the new set of the hybrid orbital, and these hybrid orbitals take the part in the chemical bonding. First bonding we have the sp bonding, like in the case of the BeH2. Beryllium number 4 has the configuration 1s2, 2s2. In the 2s we have the 2 electron, no unpaired electron. So valency should be 0, but we know beryllium always shows the valency is equal to 2, means beryllium is the atom which cannot form the chemical bond in the ground state. So what it do? It always excites one electron from the ground state to the excited state, then 1s and 1p. They interact with each other to give a new set of the orbital. This is the sp orbital. Remaining these two p orbital, they are the pure, and this is called the sp. Shape of the sp orbital is like this one. Okay, hybrid orbital represented in such a way. This is called the HOMO, highest occupying molecular orbital. This is called the LUMO, lowest occupying molecular orbital. Then 1s here, 1s here, and that's how we have the bonding in the BeH2. This is the sp orbital, this is the s orbital. So this is the sigma bond formed by the sp s or overlapping. This is the sigma bond formed by the sp s overlapping, shape of the molecule become the linear and bond angle is the 180 degree. After that we have sp2 hybridization, that will understand by the case of the BH3. Boron number 5, electron is the 1s2, 2s2, 2p1. 2s has the 2 electron, then in the p we have the 1 electron only. Unpaired electron is 1, but valency of the boron is always 3. So boron is also the atom which cannot form the bond in the ground state. It also excites the s electron to the p. Then we have the 3 unpaired electron. 3 unpaired electron will give the valency 3. Now what happens? S and 2p overlap with each other. They give a new set of the hybrid orbital. This hybrid orbital is called sp2 hybrid orbital, and this p orbital remains the pure. Now this is the set of the hybrid orbital. What it do? It interact with the 4. It interact with the 3 hydrogen. It interact with the 3 hydrogen, and each bond is formed on the internuclear axis. So these are called the sp2s overlapping. Shape of the molecule is the trigonal planar. Shape of the molecule is the trigonal planar. Bond angle is the 120 degree. Then next example we have the sp3. sp3 will understand with the help of the CH4. Carbon has the number 6, 1s2, 2s2, 2p2. 2s has the 2 electron and 2p also has the 2 electron. So but valency of the carbon is the 4. Ground state we have the only 2 electrons. So what it do? It never form the bond in the ground state. It excites the 2 electron to the 2p. Now unpaired electron become the 4. Then what happens? 1s and 3p they mix up together to give a new set of the orbital, and that new set of the orbital is called the sp2 hybrid orbitals. They give a new shape. That shape is called the tetrahedral. That shape is called the tetrahedral. Each has the 1 hydrogen. This is the shape of the CH4. Each bond is present on the internuclear axis. Each bond present on the internuclear axis. So this is the sp3. This is the s. This sigma bond is formed by the sp3s overlapping. Shape is called the tetrahedral. Shape is called the tetrahedral. Bond angle is the 109 degree and 28 minutes. Next hybridization we have sp3d. We'll take the example of the PCl5. Phosphorus has the electronic configuration 3s2 and 3p3, and D is also available, but initially D is the vacant. So in the ground state it has the 3 unpaired electron. Due to the 3 unpaired electron, its valency is the 3. So it can give the PCl5, it can give the PCl3, but valency of the PCl5 exceed up to the 5. So what it do? It transfer the 1s electron to the D. Now what? 1s, 3p and 1d. They overlap with each other to give the bond, to give a new system in which we have the 2 axial bond and 3 equatorial bond. Equatorial bond are placed horizontally and axial bond placed vertically. And now it has the 5 fluid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This shape is called the trigonal bipyramidal. Bond angle 120 and 90. In the sp3 dehybridization we also have the Venn tool. According to the Venn tool, a more electronegative element always occupy the axial position. According to the Venn tool, a more electronegative element always occupy the axial position. When all the axial position are occupied, then more electronegative element can be present on the equatorial position. Okay, what is the Venn tool? According to the Venn tool, a more electronegative element always occupy the axial position first. When all the axial position are already occupied by the more electronegative element, then it can occupy the equatorial position also. Like we have the PCl4 and F. In such case, fluorine is the more electronegative. It occupies the axial bond. If we have the PCl3F2, first fluorine, second fluorine, is still the axial position is available, it will also occupy the axial position. But if we have the PCl2 and F3, then first fluorine, second fluorine, now there is no choice, so next time it occupies the equatorial bond. Means, but first, more electronegative element always want to go on the axial position. When axial position is already occupied, then it can go to the equatorial position. And what we have to remember, like PCl5, we need to remember axial bond length is always more than the equatorial bond length. These axial bond are the larger and equatorial bond are the shorter. Next hybridization we have the sp3d2. We take the example of the XF6 sulfur. Configuration is the 3s2 3p4. 3s2 3p4. So in the ground state it has the 2 unpaired electron. Due to the 2 unpaired electron, its valency is the 2 and it forms the H2S molecule in the ground state. But we know sulfur can also give the valency up to the 6. So what it do in the first excited state, 1 p electron is transferred to the D. Now we have the 4 unpaired electron, valency become the 4, it gives the molecule like SO2. If we transfer this S electron in the second excited state, then unpaired electron becomes the 6 and it can give the valency 6. So IF7 is formed in the second excited state of the sulfur. Shape of the molecule is like octahedral. Square shape. We have one pyramid up, one fluorine up and one fluorine down. This is also called octahedral. This is also called octahedral or square bipyramidal. Every bond angle is the 90 degree. After this sp2 sp3d2 hybridization, we have the next hybridization sp3d3. In the sp3d3 hybridization, I will take the example of the IF7. Iodine is the halogen family. It has the configuration like S2P5. So in the ground state, it has the one vacant orbital, one unpaired electron. So valency is the 1. But if we transfer the electron of the P in the D, now we have the 3 unpaired electron. First excited state, iodine can give the valency 3. If one more electron is transferred, now unpaired electron becomes the 5. Now it can show the valency 5. If we transfer one more electron, now unpaired electron becomes the 7, valency becomes the 7. And this time 1s and 3p and 3d. They overlap with each other to give a new system that is called the sp3d3. Shape of the molecule is the pentagonal bipyramidal. In the base we have the pentagon and one fluorine up and one fluorine down. Shape is called pentagonal bipyramidal. Bond angle, these bond angle are the 72 degree and this bond angle is the 90 degree. So these are the hybridization, different case of the hybridization. Okay, next remaining portion, that is the Bessemer theory. After the Bessemer theory, Fajan rule and dipole moment, and then